right, so the next lesson we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what we call the Law of Sines. Actually, two parts to the lesson today. We'll kind of take a break in between, have you do some of the assignments. And so we're going to talk Law of Sine here first, and then we're going to talk about what we call Law of Cosine. So when we're talking about the Law of Sines and the Law of Cosines, really what we're doing is we're trying to find missing sides and missing angles of non-right triangles. So when we're talking about sine, cosine, and tangent, right triangle trig, we're talking about just kind of these right triangle pieces. But we can find missing sides and missing angles, and given certain situations for non-right triangles as well. And we're going to look at two cases today. We're going to start with the Law of Sines, take a break, and then we'll let you do some problems, and then you can do the Law of Cosines one after that. So the Law of Sines. So what the Law of Sines determines, and I'm going to go ahead and flash up a little piece of what the Law of Sine thing says right now. Okay, so the Law of Sines. We're talking about the Law of Sines. We're talking about finding the missing sides of triangles other than right triangles. And here's kind of the law itself. It says for any triangle A, B, and C with side lengths A, B, and C. Now notice that you've got capital letters for the vertices, you've got lowercase letters for the sides, and also notice that the sides the lowercase is opposite the uppercase. So A is across from A, and so on and so forth. What this allows us to do is allows us to find missing sides or missing angles on non-right triangles, as long as you're given one set of ratios and one other thing. So the rule itself says the sine of angle A over side A, that's going to equal the sine of angle B over side B, which is going to equal the sine of angle C over side C. And you can use this law with any combination of things. You don't have to do all three of them. Really, you only have to do two different ratios. And I kind of call the first one the master ratio. And the master ratio is where you know the measure of an angle and the length of its opposite side. So you know those things. So angle A might be 40 degrees and side A might be 15. And then as long as you know one other thing, whether it's a side or an angle, whether it's side B or side C or angle A or angle C, no matter what it is, then you could really find the rest of the things within there. So we've kind of got that master ratio, the sine of A over A, and then that's going to equal another ratio. And really, only one of the things is going to be missing when we're working with the laws of sines. You can use this law of sines to solve triangles if you have angle side angle, or angle angle side, or two side lengths, even side side angle, to use this law of sines. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples about how this is going to be used. So let's draw a triangle. So we've got triangle ABC. I'm going to say that this is 93 degrees. This is 22. And this is 15. And we want to find the measure of angle A. So I want to find the measure of this angle down there. So in the previous part, we said anytime you're doing the law of sines, you need to know the measure of an angle and the length of its opposite side. And as long as you know that, you can use, and one other thing, you can use the law of sine. So if we look at this, we know the measure of angle C is 93, and we know the length of the side is 22. So we're going to go the sine of our angle, 93, over the length of its opposite side, 22. That's going to equal the sine of angle A, which we don't know, so we'll just put sine of A, over the length of its opposite side, which is 15. And so now we kind of have everything in here that we need, and I'm going to put this over here so I have some room to solve. So now we're going to go ahead and solve, and the way we solve these is we use cross multiplication. So we're going to take 15 times the sine of 93, and then that's going to equal 22 times the sine of A. Cross multiply. We need to find the sine, so we're going to go ahead and divide each side by 22. And now since we're trying to find the measure of an angle, we're going to use the inverse sine. Okay, so we're going to change this to a decimal. We can change that to a decimal. So we go 15 times, or you can just go 15 sine of 93, hit equals, divided by 22. That's the decimal point 6809. Now I'm not going to erase that from my calculator. I'm going to leave that because that equals the sine of angle A. But we want to find the measure of the angle. So when we find the measure of the angle, what we're going to do is we have to do the second sine, just like when we were finding angles in a couple lessons ago. So we're going to hit second sine, and then we're going to put that decimal in, or if you've kept it in your calculator, you can just hit second and then the negative symbol down there, and that puts the past answer in. In nearest degree, we find out that this is actually 43 degrees is the measure of angle A. So now we know that that's 43 degrees. And that's how you find an angle using the law of sines. Let's look at another one. Okay, so here's our triangle. We'll call this ABC. We're going to go with this is 42, this is 10, and this is 110 degrees. And we want to find the length of AC, so we want to find this side down here. Okay, so first thing you have to look for, do we have a side and its opposite angle and something else? Yes is the answer. We know angle C. So we're going to put the sine of angle C, so sine of 42 over 10, the length of its opposite side. That's going to equal the sine of angle B, which is 110 over the length of its opposite side. Cross multiply. That's 10 times the sine of 110 is equal to x times the sine of 42. So we'll divide by the sine of 42. So we go 10 sine 110, close the parentheses, divided by sine of 42, close the parentheses, and we get a length of x is equal to 14.04. So just 14 is the length of that side. And that's how you go about finding a side using the law of sine. And again, it always becomes about those ratios and being able to write that, what I call kind of the master ratio. The master ratio is the sine of something over the length of its opposite side, where you know both of those things, or both of those things. And again, then you only need to know one other thing, and you're good to go. Let's look at another example. Here's our angle. We'll go ABC. This time I'm going to tell you that this is 62 degrees. This is 40 degrees. I'm going to give you the length of this side is 15. And we want to find the value of x down there. So anytime you're looking at these questions, the first thing you have to have is you have to know the measure of an angle and the length of its opposite side. And if you look at this one initially, the only side we have is the 15. And if, oops, that's not the one that I wanted to use. The only one we know is 15. We don't know the measure of its angle, but we can find it. The interior angles of a triangle has to be 180. So if we doodle on the side 180 minus 62 minus 40, take out the handy dandy calculator so we know we have it right. We know that we have a measure of this angle that's 78 degrees. Now we know the measure of an angle and its opposite side. So now we can write the ratio, the sine of 78 over the length of its opposite side, 15, is going to equal the sine of, well, we have to find x, so that opposite angle is 62. Cross multiply, 15 times the sine of 62, that's going to equal x times the sine of 78. So you're going to divide by the sine of 78. Sine of 78. Grab out the calculator. 15 sine 62, close parentheses, divided by sine 78, close parentheses. And you get x is equal to 13.5 if we round that to the nearest tenth. And there's the measure of your side. Let's do one more. In this case, we're going to find the missing angle. So here is our problem right here. Let's go with, this is 94 degrees. This is 32. This is 17. And we'll call this ABC. We want to find the measure of angle B. So press pause right now, see if you can find the measure of the angle. And then, yeah, push play when you want to see the answer. I'll work through it. Okay, so my master, that master is, those are the two that I know. So I'm going to go the sine of 94 over 32 is equal to the sine of the angle that I'm trying to find, B, over the length of its opposite side, 17. Cross multiply. 32 times the sine of B equals 17 times the sine of 94. Divide by 32. So you get the sine of B is equal to 17, clear, 17 sine 94 divided by 32. That gives you 0.529955, blah, blah, blah. Don't hit clear. We have to find the measure of the angle. So second sine, that decimal, so you can get the second answer. And you get B is equal, measure of angle B is 32 degrees. So there's kind of your first half of your assignment. I'd pause right now. The video is going to go on here in another side. I'd press pause right now. You only need to do the evens on the Law of Sine worksheet. Only the evens on the Law of Sine worksheet.